What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Jeff Needs Sports. So this is 15 minutes on Hard Knocks, Dallas Cowboys. This is episode 4 with my man AB. AB, what's up tonight?
What's going on, man? I'm excited, but it's kind of a bittersweet moment because we just got one more episode left.
No, man, it is. It is. Like all week, I kept thinking, now we're this is only on episode 3. It's only episode 3. And then I'm watching Hard Knocks, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're playing the last preseason game, and then it's episode 4, and I'm like, oh man, this is episode 4, but that's all right. We're gonna make the best of it, man.
Oh,
This
absolutely.
has been fun. I like how we're building up. I like building the partnership between me and you. So I think we're ready to go.
Absolutely.
Uh,
I'm ready.
this was a weird episode. I touched on it with you before the show started. The first thing I said was I was afraid because we all know last week that CD Lamb tested positive for COVID. COVID is back in the sports world. No surprise here. And I even text you like in the middle of the week that like, man, I think we're gonna have to do. It's gonna be a COVID episode. It's gonna be like last year. You touched on it. L.A. Rams, L.A. Chargers. Uh, a lot of Zoom calls and things like that, which not being negative, but it's that's a different way to watch football. So I was concerned about this week, but full disclosure, they kind of got through that barrier and handled it and moved on, and we had a pretty good episode, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Like you were saying, I thought it was just gonna be a straight COVID episode. We're just gonna see Zoom meetings. I'm like, man, this is. I'm like, I was dealing with that last year. I don't want to be like, do we got to
Yeah,
go back?
I was the same way when it started, and they might have done that on purpose. Which once again, I don't. I would not pretend to know like who produces and directs and everything, all the Hard Knocks over the years. But whoever's doing this one really has their like finger on the pulse of what we're watching, because I think that was intentional. So first of all, I had to say this: we started with the giant telestrator on the screen. Joe Philbin's boy is a coach for the Cowboys, which I didn't even know until this show started, and they're doing the Zoom call. But what I noticed most is I need this telestrator, man. Like he's got like 100-inch TV screen. He's circling players. He's drawing
Oh,
arrows. Like he's breaking the film down. And I'm like, that's it. That's all I need in my life. Like I don't need paid for it. I don't need anything. I just need that telestrator to be.
absolutely.
Um, dude, it was that place is so dope, man.
It was. It's like how he was doing that. It was like some John Madden moments or something like that.
Yeah, but on this giant screen, like I love that. And then he goes into the Zoom call and explains the COVID thing. They kind of show the isolation of the stadium and all that. And that's what, me and you touched on it. I was like, okay, here we go. Like, like I was already, cause I do my notes as I watch the show and I'm already, typing up my notes like, okay, AB, like, how we gonna, like, I'm thinking of how me and you are gonna handle this, how we're gonna spin it and
Yeah.
all that. And then, sure enough, man, like they tested everybody. They did rapid tests. A few of the players were out. They brought everybody back into camp, and it was like, okay, now we're moving on.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of symbolizes how like America is doing it this year. Like we've kind of figured out like you need to do this, we need to do this, and let's keep pushing forward. So I was ecstatic when they're like everybody come back in, and did you take a deep breath? You had to.
Yeah, I was like, yes. I'm like, I didn't know how it was, but when I started seeing the players and the feet walking in.
It
I
was
was like,
great.
yes. I
They
like,
did it. So like I said, once again, they're doing a great job with the video, the cinematography, the slow motion, the music, the sweat, all that. I'm really enjoying just the production of the show so far. And then they get into and it goes right into like, everybody's back. And this was the next thing I said. And I know like more about it than I do. I've only been to Texas one time, and I try to tell everybody I was there in early September for a Buckeyes slash Cowboys weekend. And I try to tell everybody, like, I know I'm trying to tell you it was hot, but I can't explain what this heat was like. And that's the beginning the beginning of this Hard Knocks, when they're showing the guys sweating and they're complaining about the heat. That was the first time that like it, you know was expressing what I felt when I was in Texas. So here's what I said to you: the heat. So I mean, just like it, it was hot, man. Like the players are hot, everybody's hot. I was miserable watching that, and I know you're closer to you're in
Oh,
it, you're
yeah.
in it, bro.
It is hell. It's like it's the dry heat. You get like once in a while, you get a nice little wind. You got like embrace it for those 15 seconds because it just goes straight to heat. And you're like, oh, you got to drink a gallon of water before you get out there because you just walking out there, you just instantly just start sweating. It's like you don't even have to move much.
Dude, it was unreal. We stayed right there in Arlington. And if anytime I travel, I always jog when I travel, just so I can be like, I jogged where I was. So the morning of the Buckeyes game, which would have been Saturday morning, I get up and I'm like, I'll just go for like I don't know, a couple 2-3 mile run or whatever through Arlington. Holy, well, I got back and I'm like, that was one of the first times in my life that I'm like, I think that was a mistake. Like it was just one of the hottest places I've been on earth. And when I was watching those guys on the practice field, the fact that they even still sweat is a credit to the training staff because I don't know how you keep any moisture in you when you're doing that. Like that none of just so anybody knows that none of that's exaggerated. It
Oh, it's
is
not.
it's just sweltering heat, man.
There's no CGI in that. That's real sweat. That is
Dude, that was
man.
miserable. So then, of course, this episode was a lot about discussing the young guys, the guys on the fringe. They've been building up the guys on the roster cut. That's what this whole show's about. Like we know, like Zeke, they show him. He's never really like we know Zeke's going to make the team. He's fun to
All right.
watch. The whole Dak thing without him throwing, which I have some questions about that here in a minute. But Dak's really not part of it you know, CD, all those guys. We know those guys are going to be on it. I think they've done a great job, with Parsons, but they really focused on like Quan Hardy. What's the
Isaac,
yeah, Isaac
Alarcon.
Alarcon, him. So they did a lot about Quan and his trying to make the team and the desperation to make the team. And I get it. And the whole time I'm like, I don't I don't know if you could ever express to somebody, what it's like to try and make a football team. I wouldn't even fathom what that is like. But the pressure on him is, what do you think? I had this question in my mind. Do you think the pressure on a guy that's on the cut line does that even compare to like say a veteran trying to win a Super Bowl that like say a guy's played 10 years and he's trying to win the big one, or does that what's that like compared to a rookie trying to make the cut? Like to me, a rookie trying to make a cut, I can't think of any more pressure than that in my life.
I think that's even a higher pressure than the vet trying to make it
I
to
do
Super Bowl
too,
because he's been there. He's solidified. He's just trying to get that ring so
and
he
he's
can.
paid.
Yeah, he's paid. Like
Let's be honest.
these
Eh,
players that are rookies, these UDFA's that they're not guaranteed money. It's just like
mm-mm.
they're trying to get a check, or if not, they are going back to a 9 to 5 or trying to squeak their way into another roster. That's their two options, right?
Yeah, the whole time, man, I'm feeling for Quan. Like I like the guy, but I also told you like I've at that point, like, cause I put my notes as we're watching. I'm like, I have zero faith that this guy's going to make the roster, even though he's trying and,
Yeah.
Zeke's egging him on and all that. I'm just like, I just don't know if I see it. And then, so then they go to the next segment, and this is where Amari Cooper and Trayvon Diggs kind of get into it. I love this
Oh,
because
same
these are
here.
these are two starters in the NFL, two good starters, by the way. And they kind of get into it, and then they do this little like 3-minute montage of Cooper going after Diggs. And this is a question for you because I don't know how. Like I said, not a great show for Diggs. That's all I said about it. Was
Yeah.
like that's not great for Diggs. I'm like he can't guard Cooper. So how do you feel as a Cowboys fan? Are you really happy that you got Cooper, or are you a little nervous about Diggs?
I'm happy about Cooper. When it comes to Diggs, then top it off, they're both from Alabama, so that competitive nature is gonna kick in
Right.
for sure. But yeah, you got questions. It's gonna be his sophomore year, but he's going against one of the best receivers out in the game. So it's a challenge, but then corners are gonna make mistakes. They're gonna have their bad games and they're gonna have their good games. Like
And
it's better to challenge the best player on your team.
yeah, and it's impossible. And honestly, like I keep saying this, like as an analyst, it corners don't cover one on one anymore because it's
No.
impossible because you can't use your hands. You know, the pass interference calls goes against you. So it is there's no such thing as a shutdown corner anymore just because you can't. Like if the ref decides that day that you can't, he decides what your limitations are. So I did feel bad for Trayvon on this. And once again, the video editor can make it look however he wants. But the other side of it is Amari Cooper looked really good. As a
Right.
matter of fact, we had a draft last Sunday, and I actually drafted fantasy draft, and I'm not a fantasy football guy. I went ahead and drafted Cooper because I just think that like this might be his Julio Jones year to where he has 111 catches or something like that.
I
But
see that.
I've really came away from this series of I like Cooper a lot. Once again, everything they showed about Dak in this segment, every scene he's in, that guy, that guy checks every boxes, man.
I
Like if I'm a fan and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I'm so happy that Dak is my quarterback. He just everything he says, everything he does, like he just it's just amazing. I'm like, no, this guy gets it. Like I'm all in on Dak. How about you?
I'm all in on Dak. Shoot, like you could tell the difference from last year when Dak was on the team, and then when Andy Dalton, all the other
Huge
quarterbacks,
difference.
etc. Like his teammates are dialed in when he's in there, but everybody else is like, I'm not fully confident in who the next quarterback is. Like everybody like dials into Dak when he's talking and never everything he's saying. Like,
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I've come away they did they did Micah Parsons, they did that little Connect Four
oh, yeah,
scene. First of all, Parsons and Van Der Esch, I need a buddy cop movie right now.
yeah,
Like
I can see that.
I like because I've always liked Van Der Esch too. Like I respect just how kind of how he plays the game and how he sees the game.
Mhm.
And if you combine that with Parsons' ability, that's an unstoppable force. I mean, that's a real. I think they. We'll talk just a quick X's and O's right here. I think Van Der Esch and Parsons play off each other because I think if Van Der Esch can trust that other guy beside him, I mean, let's face it, most defenses are going to be 4-2-5 this year. That's just
Oh,
the way it's going to be. Everybody watched the Super Bowl. You need two good linebackers. That third linebacker has become that the third linebacker has become a nickelback. Like
yeah.
it's going to be a person. But if Van Der Esch can trust Parsons and Parsons can go do his thing, it's going to make them both better. So I kind of like. I thought that was really cool to see them. I've liked everything I've seen from them this far. You have to be excited about
Oh,
Micah Parsons going into the season, bro.
I'm excited every time he gets on that field. I'm
It's
excited. Like,
he
man,
just jumps off the screen. It's whether what I mean whether that's what I mean like whether it's like first of all his mom's food looks great.
it's,
So if Miss Parsons wants to invite us over for dinner, I am all in. The mac and cheese, like all that. I was totally
uh,
I was so hungry. Like I no, this is a true story. So I'm watching it and I had leftover macaroni and cheese in the fridge. It's 3 in the morning. I paused it. This is a true story. I paused it. I went and heated up some macaroni and cheese and ate it while I was watching the second half of the show. I am not exaggerating. So, Miss Parsons, you want me over? I'm all in. I've been a fan. I've been a fan the whole time. But seriously, like yeah, I know you're excited about those two. Um,
Absolutely.
so we're going to get into a little bit of what this show is focused on. It's focused on Kamara. It's focused on we talked about Quan Hardy
Mhm.
and the gentleman from Monterrey, Mexico, Isaac Alarcon, I believe is as how he
I,
would say his name. The show really focused on them a lot. Um, Now, keep in mind when the show came out Tuesday night, the cuts had been made.
mhm.
So me and you talked about this, and we decided there's no reason to act like people don't have Google. There's no reason
Oh,
to
absolutely.
there's no reason to patronize people. Everybody knows what happened.
Mhm.
So my thoughts to you were like, I think Alarcon makes a roster. I think he did like play good enough to make a roster. Kamara, I thought was the one that I love his story. I love his mom's, um, all that they did. But when you watch Kamara play, did you think he was going to make the roster?
I didn't think he was gonna make the roster. Like he's a try hard player, but it's just like he's so light. He's
He's
235 playing
just so
defensive
light at
end.
that position, bro.
Like
And in today's NFL, there is a spot for that, but man, that's a very specific spot. You still have at some point you have to be able to take on a blocker, and I think
yeah,
that's the holdup. And I don't really think at his size, I don't think he was really fast enough. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to be if you're going to be Von Miller, then you got to be Von Miller.
yeah.
Like you can't play like Michael Strahan and be the
Oh,
size of Von Miller. You're going to get pushed around, and that's what I saw a lot. You know, they gave him a ton of attention, and that's why I said I was like, he's not making this team. I'm not saying he's never going to make a team or whatever.
oh yeah.
I don't know that he can't be a hybrid safety or something. We saw Jamal Lewis is getting paid. He's the highest paid safety of all time, and he's essentially a linebacker now. Like the game changes. I'm not saying Kamara doesn't have a spot, but that was one. Quan Hardy, I just with Pollard and Zeke and stuff, I just didn't really see a spot for him. And then, of course, like I said, Isaac Alarcon, I was like, I think he'll make a roster. I didn't think it would be the Cowboys roster. Um, so here's what we know. None of those three made the Cowboys roster. Like, is it fair to is it all right to say that now?
Yeah, it's okay. It's definitely
They would just released it.
understandable.
I should have said spoiler alert. If you're waiting for next week, I'm sure that they're going to make a big deal out of those three not making the roster, but anybody knows. So, out of those three, do you think any of them make an NFL roster anywhere?
Uh, I think out of Isaac is definitely gonna be on the Cowboys because he's on the international.
Yes.
Yeah,
Talk about that a little bit.
like they get 1 year after after they rookie year to get back on the team for a year, and then it's the team's opportunity to sign them or just let them go, and then they're basically just like any free agent. Any team could pick them up for just the minimum or whatever they want to pay them.
Is essentially a red shirt. Let's just
Yeah,
call it a red shirt. That's the
Richard.
easiest. Yeah, it's the easy way. So I think he's actually in good shape.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would have done with him. Like he's got the body type. He's got a lot of skills, especially at guard. I thought he was a good looking guard, honestly. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you redshirt him? It's the cheapest way. It's way cheaper than drafting somebody and
Right.
then doing the same thing. So Kamara, maybe a practice squad, maybe a special teams player that sneaks in later in the year somewhere. Um,
At best.
I don't know what the skill set is because he didn't appear to be a player that could just switch to like coverage. And so at that size, if you can't cover, I don't really know what the spot for you is. Even with today's NFL, like, me and you talked about it, they're going to have a lot of stand-up linebackers in the A gaps and stuff this year. That's fine, but that's you can't keep a guy on your roster for 2 plays a game. Um,
Um,
he just, great story. I don't know how it's going to end up, if we're being honest. Um, Quan Hardy probably will be on a practice squad somewhere. And then probably week 10, uh, you're literally just going to start running out of running backs. It's a 17-week league. Your players are going to start getting hurt. Somebody's going to need a running back, and I can see Quan Hardy popping up and having 200 yards rushing this year. What do you think about Quan and his contacts? I don't know.
the way the camera has him, he's like the joke of the team. Not in a bad way, just like oh,
they
I need it. Where my contacts at? Or let me
they
take
did
the
a
goggles
good,
off.
but you know what? That may help him because
Oh,
sometimes that's all a team will get to see. That may help him, his personality and all that.
yeah,
He had. I was once again when he went out to eat. I was also hungry.
yeah.
But I can see him popping up for a couple years on a practice squad. By the time he's done with the NFL, 600 yards rushing, two touchdowns, a few tackles. The tackle was great. Hey, that's how Terrell Davis, man. Everybody knows the famous. I
You're
remember
right.
watching the Tokyo Bowl. Terrell Davis, gets a tackle. The next thing you know, he's in the Hall of Fame. Like that's how. And Dallas is pretty solid at running back. So I don't think every team has three running backs better than Quan. So I'm going to give him a shot. I really am. I was,
I think so.
good.
I think he definitely got the shot. Like even if he doesn't become a Hall of Famer, he could be one hell of a special team ace.
Yeah.
Like
I will say this: the announcer comparing him to Darren Sproles. Full disclosure, Darren Sproles is in my top 10 NFL players of all time. I love Darren Sproles. So I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's go easy on the
pump
Darren
the
Sproles
brakes on
comparison.
that one.
Yeah, they're the same size. That's it. Darren Sproles is pound for pound, maybe the best NFL player I ever saw. Him and London Fletcher, pound for pound. But that doesn't mean Quan can't do that. That does not mean that Quan can't do that. And I hope he makes it. So, yeah, that was cool, man. Anything else you saw in the episode or anything that you are thinking about? Oh no, I know what. I'm sorry. I had a question for you. I know we're
Okay.
running long. I don't care.
I know.
We got a couple episodes left. Here's a question I ask you. This is on the football side of it, the Dallas football side of it. Does
Okay.
does Dak not playing quarterback because of the injury, the arm and the I guess the lat injury? Um, is Dallas going to be ready when the season opens without Dak playing quarterback in the preseason?
You said if they're ready if Dak's not there.
Yeah, I mean without him because he hasn't been able to throw all preseason. Are they ready? Do you feel comfortable with like even though Dak didn't get a play preseason after missing all that time? Are you fine with that?
I wish he. I wish he would have got into the games, but that's still a worry. But I feel like they could definitely dial in when it comes to the game day. Like they'll be prepared for this. There's gonna be some ups and downs in the beginning of the stretch of the season, but I think they'll definitely get it together.
Yeah, that's
I,
my biggest thing is just like I'm like, man, him coming off he hasn't played in so long and then he didn't get to throw. Because here's what I don't like about it. Danucci, they focused a lot on Danucci. He did not make the team, which there was nothing. I don't think you want him to make that. No offense, man, but I don't like to him, but I don't think you want him to make the team, right? He, he just, so what I don't like is like the first team offense at best, or even second team, they only get to work with the guy that can't even make the team. So I always wonder about this of how much do you get out of practice when your starting quarterback's not there because he's light years ahead of these guys. Like he's one of these quarterbacks that it's not even close. You know what I mean? This isn't a Miami or a New England situation. Dak is light years better than his backup and especially the third string. So, that's the reason I asked that is like, did the preseason, like, was it a waste of time? I guess is what I'm getting at. But
uh, when it comes to quarterback, it was kind of like a waste because like the quarterbacks they brought in were like you don't like if Dak was out for a couple weeks, I wouldn't trust these quarterbacks that were in. I wish they would have took some serious consideration, like just in case if Dak's out for a couple weeks, we got a quarterback
yeah,
right there in the helm that can game manage for like 2 to 3 weeks.
and it looks like the backup's Connor Rush. I think that
Cooper
Cooper
Rush, but
Rush.
I know this will be it's not a spoiler alert, but they got Will Greer.
I did not know. That is a spoiler alert. I did not hear that yet. So breaking news right here. No, that's a great pickup. I like Will Greer a lot. I know he's an average quarterback, but I just kind of like he seems like a guy that can handle the professionalism of it. I don't know how to say that. I don't think he's great, but I don't think he'll also collapse. So I did not know that. So that's interesting.
And then he got a connection with Doug Nussmeier, our quarterback coach, when he was at
Mm-hmm.
Florida. So that connection with a coach back in his college days, maybe he can get the best out of Greer just in case if Dak doesn't make it.
No, I like the way
That
he's. Yeah, I like that. Well, let's face it. That's every NFL team. Like if their starting quarterback goes down, nobody's okay with it.
Uh,
So it's not just the Cowboys that are concerned about it. It's
uh,
every team in the league, and some teams don't even have a starting quarterback. So
that's
um,
that's
it,
true. Like when when you're a big fan of a team, you're just focused like, oh, I bet no other team is dealing with this, but
oh
they're
yeah, yeah, I could, yeah, it's every team. There's not enough great quarterbacks to go around. Oh man. But anyway, I thought it was a pretty good episode. I thought this was a pretty good episode. We went long once again. I don't apologize for it. Um, we only got one left next week. It's gonna be weird. We're gonna be talking about cuts. We're probably gonna be rehashing a lot of the cuts. By the time we talk next week, we're gonna be on the verge. We're gonna be on the eve of NFL football
oh,
starting. So
okay,
maybe if y'all are really nice, I can talk AB and maybe we can do a little preseason preview or something like that. Maybe we can stretch this out a little bit more and
okay.
get some more content out of him. How about that, man?
I'm down with that. Just let me know.
All right. AB, tell everybody where they can follow you.
Hey, y'all go check me out on Aaron B 901 on Twitter and check out Tacos and Touchdowns podcast on all platforms iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, and then many more.
Absolutely. You can find me at Jeff Needs Sports and offtheballnetwork.com. We got a ton of stuff coming up. Football season is in
Hey,
yeah, it's in full force, man. We're ready. This was another great episode of 15 minutes on Hard Knocks. We got one more left, and everybody have a great week. Enjoy the football, and we will see you soon. Thanks, AB.